Hello there. Welcome to another episode of PhysicianEstate podcast. This is your host, Dr. Harsha Mule, owner and operator of PhysicianEstate platform. I am podcasting to you today from Miami, Florida. PhysicianEstate is a physician-owned real estate platform directed towards doctors in USA. We provide free real estate resources and investment opportunities to physicians. We facilitate physicians make wealth and keep wealth. You are currently listening to podcast number 17 of PhysicianEstate. In this episode, we will be talking about the top 6 circumstances contributing to patient injury. Let's first talk about medical malpractice. Medical malpractice is a kind of personal injury case that is brought against physicians, hospitals, nurses, EMTs, or other healthcare professionals. It is a form of professional malpractice that applies only when a patient is injured in the course of medical treatment. Patients that suffer from a medical malpractice injury may be able to hold the healthcare providers responsible for that injury liable under the special rules that apply for this type of professional negligence. In this podcast, you will learn the top 6 circumstances contributing to patients' injury in the hospitals. The information presented in this podcast has been gathered from 2 thoroughly performed research studies done by the Doctors Company and Cooperative of American Physicians. Together, these studies evaluated 484 hospitalist claims that were closed. This is one of the 5 podcasts on how to avoid medical malpractice lawsuits. Please listen to the other ones before and after this podcast. Now let's get into the 6 circumstances that are contributing to patient's injury. Number 1. Inadequate patient assessment. Lack of adequate assessments in thoroughly reviewing observations made by nurses, diagnostic tests, symptoms, lab values, etc. Ordering diagnostic tests, thoroughly considering all the differentials. Point number 2. Information exchange among healthcare providers. More eyes on the patient means more information at hand to monitor and manage the patient. It will be futile if these eyes do not work in synchronization. The more data points the attending provider has, the better informed decisions can be made and not much will be missed. Point number 3. Treatment and medication selection issues. Physician reviewers have particularly identified mismanagement in pneumonia, asthma, infections, sepsis, cardiac arrhythmias, myocardial infarctions, and traumatic injuries. Improper selection and management of medications, including failing to order any medication, failing to order the most appropriate medication, or ordering the wrong medication, are amongst the issues that apply. Claims associated with addressing do not resuscitate DNR orders are also included in this category. Point number 4. Poor rapport between physicians and patients or family. Building trust with patients and their family is vital in providing healthcare. Educating the patient of the responsibilities of the physician and the role of the patient in the process of medical treatment can enlighten both the patient and the family in cooperating and complying with the process. Failure to comply with treatment plans will result in unwanted outcome. This is why communication is key despite the challenges both parties can be facing. In some instances, patients were not informed to contact their outpatient physician if they experienced certain specific side effects related to management provided in a hospital that required intervention. Point number 5. Not calling consults when needed. These studies identified 2 types of cases in this category. Either the hospitalist failed to determine that the patient's condition needs the intervention of other specialists, or the hospitalist was confident that he or she can handle the patient's care without assistance. In this day and age, medical practice is becoming very specialty focused. Assuming broader role may be practical in certain situations like rural areas without access to consultants. However, long story short, if in doubt or when you have access to consultants, just call consults to get an expert opinion. Point number 6. Patient behaviors. These studies identified 2 types of cases in this category. Patient behavior plays an important role in the outcome of care, emphasizing on how vital it is for patients to participate in their own care and recovery. The research articles reviewed in the post include patients who were not compliant with treatment plans, not compliant with follow-up appointments and medication plans. Most claims in this category include patients who were non-compliant with testing procedures recommended to monitor anticoagulants and blood glucose levels. Although most of the content presented in this podcast seems pretty basic, the goal of this podcast is to highlight the importance of topics that often fall through the cracks and eventually get physicians and patients in trouble. I hope that you picked up at least a few key points from this article to include them in your practice. Practice thoroughly, keep your patients safe, and you stay safe. That brings us to the end of this topic. Thank you for listening to another episode of Physician Estate Podcast. To receive more information on real estate resources for physicians and to get updates on real estate investment opportunities with Physician Estate, please subscribe to our newsletter at PhysicianEstate.com. You will also find in the same website 2 new free eBooks, ABCs of Real Estate Syndication, and How to Avoid Medical Malpractice Lawsuits. Signing off for now, this is your host, Dr. Harsha Mule. Make wealth and keep wealth.
Disclaimer: I am not a legal advisor or investment advisor. The content in this podcast is not investment advice. This is my personal blog, and all the content found here is for informational, entertainment, or educational purposes only. It should not be construed as personal investment advice.